All right, good evening. Welcome to the Pinole Planning Commission for April 22nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. There are several ways to attend the meeting. One is in person at the Pinole City Council Chambers at 2131 Paris Street, or via the Zoom teleconference. And that Zoom web address is https://us02web.zoom.us/j/86505375301 with a webinar ID of 86505375301. You may also call in by phone, area code 669-900-6833, or area code 253-215-8782, or area code 346-248-7799. If none of those work for you, you may also email Planning Commissioner Manager David Hannum at dhannum@ci.pinole.ca.us. You can also watch it live on Channel 26. And with that, I will call this meeting to order. Item on the agenda, the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number C, land acknowledgement. Before we would begin, we would like to acknowledge the Ohlone people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Ohlone land, the land that Pinole sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Item D, roll call. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Lamb-Julian?
Present.
Commissioner Sandoval?
Present.
Commissioner Bender?
Present.
Commissioner Martinez?
Here.
Commissioner Banuelos?
Here.
Vice Chair Menes?
Here, noting as usual that I sent out ex parte communications to my email list about this meeting, and also that I had a conversation with Commissioner Martinez about item I-1.
Okay, and then Chair Benzuli?
Here.
Let the record show that all the commissioners are present, so we can we have a quorum, we can take action on any item on the agenda.
Cool. Next item is item E, citizens be heard. The public may address the Planning Commission on items that are within its jurisdiction and not otherwise listed on the agenda. Planning commissioners may discuss the matter brought to their attention, but by state law, action must be deferred to a future meeting. Time allowed will be 5 minutes each. Justin, do we have anybody on the...
I see someone online, but I don't see a hand raised right now. Oh, there we go. We see the hand raise.
Go ahead, sir.
Great. Please press *6 when you're ready to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Anthony, a longtime citizen of Pinole, taxpayer, senior citizen, if that counts anymore. In Pinole, it doesn't seem like it does. But anyway, I wanted to bring up a few items. Some are directly related or not related to the Planning Commission, but I know you have the power to pass it on to the staff, as well as bring it up for other meetings down the road or for discussion. A while back, I had, and some of my friends and neighbors in Pinole Valley, or that access Pinole Valley Road, had asked several questions, and none of them seemed to be addressed or answered by the city manager, the old city manager, the new acting interim city manager, who doesn't seem to like to talk too much, as well as the TAPS committee, the directors, the managers. But what is being done to queue these streetlights up and down Pinole Valley Road, and for that matter, in and around the Fitzgerald Drive, Appian Way corridor down to San Pablo Avenue, because there seems to be a disconnect there on properly queuing the streetlights. So we can't, do our due diligence as a city or a community for our carbon emissions to control the pollution in and around the city, as well as in the bay and everything else that's affected by the carbon emissions. And then the other part of that was, can't they consider putting those line of street lights up and down Pinole Valley Road from the Trader Joe's shopping center, more or less up above that, past the high school? There are about half a dozen streetlight intersections that after 8 or 9 o'clock, they could be put on a delayed blinking system, like east to west, west to east, with a maybe a red light blinking system, and then on all the side courts there, whether it's Granada or Muda or what have you, by the library and the high school, they could be put on yellow blinker calming lights from like 8 or 9 at night till 4 or 5 the next morning. But they haven't discussed that or tried to even do that, because there's studies show that that'll reduce carbon emissions anywhere from 10 to 15% to over 20%. And with minimizing the stop and go driving up and down Pinole Valley Road and or Appian Way or what have you in the late hours of the night when there's very little traffic out on the roads per se. And then the other issue too is the street lights, up and down Pinole Valley Road and parts of San Pablo Avenue. They have been yet to be repaired or replaced by the city, and it's just a ongoing battle with our poor residents that have to drive out at night, and they can't see the streets. The markers aren't well lit on the street, or the street signs aren't well lit because half of the lights are out up and down Pinole Valley Road from Henry all the way out past Seamus to Castro Ranch Road. And they're supposed to send a crew out twice a year to check and replace those, and many people have called in or wrote in or complained, and very little has been done to that effect. And recently, I think also we asked why did they just go out and put a whole bunch of signs up on San Pablo Avenue, but up and down San Pablo Avenue, little directional signs and reflectors on the medial strips, but they didn't do any of that up on Appian, or more so, they didn't do any of that where it's really needed as well, up on up and down Pinole Valley Road. And a couple of them got mowed down already. And I guess the city's policy is just to stop, once they get knocked over or knocked down, like by the Appian liquors on the bottom of San Pablo and Appian in the medial.
Okay, sir, if you could wrap it up real quick.
They just remove them and they don't replace them, just like the requests for the replacement of the 2 aluminum guardrails on the Pinole Valley Bridge.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Your 5 minutes is up, sir.
Guardrails have been out and broken for several months, if not.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. A lot of this is streetlight issues, which I know we've heard before, talked about a little bit. Is this all the TAPs or Public Works? Public Works.
Yeah, all 3. Those are public works issues that they're coming through. So,
okay.
Raphael has a hand up.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir, for bringing those again.
Raphael has a hand up.
Yeah.
I think there might be one point that might fall a little bit within our jurisdiction, because I know that like road signage and the details of signalization have sometimes come within our jurisdiction. Would it be possible for the city to have intersections basically set to blinking red or blinking yellow at certain times of day, or is that outside of our authority under the state codes?
That's outside our authority as part of the planning commission. The Public Works Department would have to do, there would have to be studies done to be able to do that. Normally they're usually on what we call like a 80-20, whereas, you know, during most of the day it's 80-20 going, you know, one way, and then, you know, during the peak times, and then it goes, then they do like the 2-minute intervals. Usually they're 2 minutes, you'll wait 2 minutes at a traffic signal. I mean, if late at night, if they're not coordinated to, you know, send you through on all the green lights, it's usually about a 2-minute wait if you miss each of the lights. So, but that's something that Public Works would be able to take a look at and be able to be able to manage. So that's all in their bailiwick, and it could be brought up at the Traffic Commission or the Traffic Safety Commission as well. So that'd be the other place for it to happen.
All right. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Justin, is there anyone else online? There's no one in that room, so.
No, there's no one else online.
And that concludes citizens to be heard. Next item is item F, meeting minutes, and the Planning Commission meeting minutes for March 25th, 2024. Does anyone have any comments? I will start. Vice Chair Menace.
Indeed. And speaking of that name, on page 9 of the agenda packet, or page 5 of the minutes, line number 34, my name's listed as Vice Chairperson Menus, and it should be Vice Chairperson Minutes, as it is in the rest of the minutes. That's all.
Sorry, page 9, line.
So page 5 of the minutes, line
5.
34. Page 9 of the agenda packet.
Oh, I see. Yeah, there's why. Page 5. Okay. Okay. Commissioner Bender, anything?
No comments.
Commissioner Manuelos?
No, I'm fine.
Commissioner Martinez?
None.
Commissioner Lam Julian?
Yes. Page 2, line 11. It's between West Contra Costa cities, so it's not all of West Contra Costa. And then on page 7 of the minutes, or page 11 of the packet, just clarification, lines 14 and 15, that code enforcement officer, she had presented at National Night Out, the flow chart was when she presented that of the permit process, and at Rotary, she briefly touched on permits, and it was more about weed abatement, for clarification. That's all.
So is there something specific you want to change? So it's getting rid of.
So on line 14, so it should be like presented a flow chart of the process for at National Night Out, or Pinole National Night Out, and then period. And then she presented on permits at Rotary to fix that.
Oh, okay. I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm complete. Thank you.
Commissioner Sandoval?
No comments.
Okay. So it sounds like anybody else?
I guess I couldn't quite find the first change that Commissioner Lam Julian wanted to make. It was on page 2, which line?
Line 11.
I'm having difficulty seeing the issue there. It says meetings were rotated between cities in Contra Costa County, right?
So the just clarification, it's the West County Mayor's Conference,
Ah,
so
I see.
not.
Oh,
So it's
Everybody.
for a
line
correction
10.
to line 10.
Oh, yep. Thanks for catching that. Yes.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes with the exception of the various changes to Vice Chair Menace's name, spelling correction, page 2, line 11, changing it to West Contra Costa Mayors, and page 11, lines 14 and 15. Basically, the process was at the National Night Out, and then the permit thing was at the Pinole Rotary Club.
I'll make that motion with those modifications.
I'll second.
Please take a vote.
Question before the vote begins. Does the motion include the change to page 5, line 34?
Yes, I thought that was kind of throughout. I thought you said
just
that was.
wanted to double check and make sure that was included because the other ones were called out explicitly.
Oh, okay. Yes, it should be included, that one, but wasn't sure if that was, I thought that you said it was throughout the whole thing.
No. Everywhere else, it was fine. It was
Oh,
just that
oh,
one
sorry.
particular line that there was an issue.
That makes more sense. Sorry.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Okay, roll. Commissioner Lamb Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Benuelos,
Yes.
Vice Chair Menace,
Yes.
Chair Benzuli.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item G, public hearings. We don't have any public hearings for this evening. Nothing?
No public hearings for tonight.
Great. Moving on to item H, old business. I take it there's no old business either.
Nope,
Yep.
not tonight.
Moving on to item I, new business. Item number 1, selection of the chair, vice chair, and the ad hoc planning commission subcommittee for 2024-2025.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As we do every year, as you know, the terms for the chair and the vice chair are for 1 year. With then you have the opportunity to what we call reorganize, which the commission will select the chair, the vice chair, as well as 3 members for the new ad hoc committee. So those items. So there's a number of ways we can do it. We can call for anybody who wants to be the chair, or we can do like a nominations process and we can do a formal way of doing it, which is asking for nominations and then closing nominations and then taking a vote, and then for each of the vice chair, the chair, and it will take all 3 members of the ad hoc committee at the same time. So it's at the discretion of the chair of how he wants to handle this at this point. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. And we have Erica here also if we need any legalese to make sure that we do the process correctly. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any, anyone would like to nominate or do the chair or vice chair, or have a specific request to do those positions?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Menace as the chair for the incoming season of 2024 through 2025.
Are you,
I would be willing to accept that nomination.
is there anyone else? What do you mean? Well, yeah, I mean, if there's, is there anyone else would like to also put their, also nominate themselves or anything, or is there anybody else that's interested? Okay. I would, okay. I do take it for a vote then to nominate Commissioner or Vice Chair Menace to be chair for next year, 2024, 2025.
Okay, we'll do a vote. Commissioner Lamb Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Banuelos,
Yes.
Vice Chair Menace,
Yes.
Chair Benzuli.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Commissioner Menace is now will be the chair for the 24-25. And at this point, Chair Benzuli, we recognize you as your year as the chair, and we'll probably have some comments later. But at this point, then Rafael will lead the nominations for the vice chair.
Cool.
Thank you to the commission for the nomination and vote, and to the prior chair, Benzui, for his excellent work as chair over the past year. I'm sure there'll be more time for proper congratulations later. I am now going to open the nominations for vice chair of the Planning Commission. Would anyone like to nominate themselves or another commissioner to serve as vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Sandoval for vice chair. You don't have to do anything for a year, so don't worry.
Do you accept the nomination?
I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure if it's something that I want actually.
Well, I just think because I thought you would be a good one, and then later on a good chair. That's really mainly why I thought about it. So.
Is anyone else interested in being vice chair?
Not anymore.
Not what I expected. Man.
If you'd like, we could pause for a moment and we can ask if anyone wants to make other nominations while you consider it. Would you prefer that?
Yes, let me think about that.
All right, so while Commissioner Sandoval is considering his nomination, would anyone like to nominate any of the other commissioners as vice chair? And I'll give that, say, a minute, if we could have a timer.
I mean, I think it would be good to have someone new to get from a learning curve to learn how to, step in, if needed. Because I think everyone else, Commissioner Bender and Commissioner Benuelos have already done it in previous past lives, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, several times.
So, I mean, it would be a good learning experience, and I think it could be an opportunity to, to learn it, to see what's going on, so that if it's something you want to do in the future, you'd have a little bit of experience behind it. But no pressure.
I guess to be more direct, if I nominated either Commissioner Martinez or Commissioner Lamb-Julian, would either of you accept being vice chair?
Thank you for the consideration. However, with my medical conditions and the number of doctor appointments, I don't know that I could serve the community as well as I'd like to. So I'm ever so grateful, Chair, but I, at this point, would defer to Commissioner Lamb-Julian to see if that would be something of interest to you.
I just feel that I would not be able to commit fully just because I am sitting on several other boards as well. It's just my concern that I would not be able to give it my full attention.
And I guess that sort of leads to a follow-on question that I have, and this is more for Planning Manager Hanham. Is the vice chair necessarily on the ad hoc committee?
No.
So their primary duty is just fill in for the chair if and when he is not available.
Yes, that's the, unless that person wants to be on the ad hoc committee. Normally we have the chair and the vice chair and then another member of the committee. However, if we don't have, that's not written in stone of who is on the ad hoc committee.
Okay, so I guess I would say to the commissioners who are considering being vice chair that, and I'll let Commissioner Martinez offer his comments after I finish mine momentarily, that the primary duty you'd have would just be, learning, observing how the chair conducts things, and probably becoming chair in the future, assuming you're still on the Planning Commission at this time next year. More so than anything else, it doesn't necessarily involve any increased time obligations compared to being a commissioner as such. And now, Commissioner Martinez, I believe you had additional comments?
As we do not have anybody that is willing at this point to assume the role, I'd be happy to take over as the vice chair for you, Chair Menace.
Very well. In that case, I will nominate Commissioner Martinez as vice chair.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so now we have a vote for Commissioner Martinez to be the vice chair, Commissioner Lamb Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Bender,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Benuelos.
Yes.
Vice Chair Menace. Oh, no, Chair Menace. Oh, no, Commissioner Benzuli. I'm a little, forgot about
Yes.
Chair Menace.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Commissioner Martinez is now the vice chair.
Congratulations, Vice Chair. And with that, I believe the next item is the selection of the Ad Hoc Planning Commission Subcommittee. So, Plan Manager Hannah, if you could lay that out for us.
Yes, basically the ad hoc committee is a committee that the planning commission has. It's our one committee. It's an ad hoc, so it comes together when needed. It is basically to review projects, design review projects. It also is the committee is also used to do things like we're doing the objective development standards. It'll probably also be used for the parklets as well to start that process. So it's a committee that comes together for certain topics within the Planning Commission's privy. So with that, there are 3 members that are appointed to this committee, and it can be any 3 members of the commission that does it. So at that point, we'll leave it to you, Commissioner or Chair Menace, to I got to get used to saying Chair Menace, to select those 3 members.
Great. So before I begin, I guess the first thing I should ask is, of the 4 commissioners who are not currently on the ad hoc committee, would any of you be interested in joining it?
I would.
All right, so Commissioner Benuelos, and would any of the other 3 be interested? That would be Commissioner Sandoval, Commissioner Lamb Julian, and Commissioner Benzuli in this case.
Unfortunately, I'm terming out, so I'm likely not returning.
Fair enough in that case. So it would just be if
Or Commissioner Bender, if Commissioner Bender wants
Well,
to stay on the committee.
to start with, I'm just asking whether the people who
Okay.
aren't on the commission would be interested in joining it. And then we could talk to the people who already are.
Just wanted to make sure we're not leaving anybody out. That's
No, I'm doing this systematically.
Okay.
So Commissioners Lamb, Julian, and Sandoval, would either of you be interested in joining the ad hoc commission? This would be a significant time obligation.
Depending on the subject matter.
Based on my experiences on the ad hoc subcommittee dealing with the objective design standards.
I think that I would like to, but I do not have the capacity to do so.
Fair enough.
It would be interesting, but just my time commitment on my other boards and being the main caregiver to a school-age little guy with exceptional needs, I would not be able to dedicate any more time out of my schedule for that. Thank you.
Fair enough, and that's why I made sure to mention the time commitment, because subcommittees require more than others, and this is definitely one of the committees that requires more time. So currently, the members of this commission that are on the committee are Vice Chair Martinez, Commissioner Bender, and myself. So I guess to Vice Chair Martinez and Commissioner Bender, would you like to remain on the ad hoc committee?
I'd like to remain.
I guess of recent team, what we've learned is the scheduling at the time of day really conflicts with a number of the appointments I have. If the group would be agreeable to perhaps moving it to a latter or an earlier time of the day, there is potential that I could support this and assist the team. It's just the timing of it right now is really conflicting with the number of appointments that I have. So if, I don't want to speak for the group because I know that we have a cadence at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays that tends to work for everybody. But if the group could find another time that would work, I'd be more than happy to assist. So I'll put that out there to the group.
All right, and then finally, as for myself, I would continue to be interested in being on the ad hoc subcommittee, but I guess it depends on how exactly we're managing the timing for that, because we now have 4 people being interested on being on a 3-person subcommittee.
Right. So which constitutes a quorum, which we can't have. So
Yep.
one of you would have to bow out. Oh, did I see a hand raised?
Bowing out.
Okay.
All right, so Commissioner Manuelos, would you be able to make ad hoc meetings time of 1 to 3 p.m. on Wednesdays?
Yes. I was going to say I was going to be able to make your time.
All right, so then I would like to formally nominate Commissioner Banuelos, Commissioner Bender, and Chair Menace as the members of the ad hoc subcommittee for the 2024-25 Planning Commission year.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? Roll call vote time.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandoval, Commissioner Benzuli,
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Banuelos,
Yes.
Commissioner Benzuli,
Yes. I think you're doing
Well,
Commissioner Bender.
oh yeah, Commissioner Bender.
Yes.
Okay, and then Chair Menace.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Got you all out of order now.
Well, as long as we got all 7 of us counted, that's the important thing. Next, we have city planners / commissioners report. So, city planner, you have anything to report for us?
Yes, I do. Couple of things. Just wanted to let you know regarding the Pinole Shores project. I want to give you kind of an update and kind of where our projects that we've entitled over the last couple of years, or where they're at, and kind of and where we're going with those. So I'll start off with Pinole Shores 2. Currently, as you're aware, they reapplied to change the dimension of the project from 2 buildings to 1. Same overall square footage. They just moved it all into 1 building. We're working on the environmental right now. We just got the noise report. So we'll be working with the applicant to address those issues. We're also waiting for the traffic study and some of the other studies to come in. So we're hoping to get that project to you either late May, early June. It's looking more towards like early June, but I'm holding out for a couple more studies to get here. If I can get them here in a couple weeks, we might be able to make it. So it's that project. So Pinole Vista, we are working with them. They've submitted an application and a check, or just a check and not the application, but one of those, to extend their project for 1 year. So they're working with their contractors, and we still are completing a lot line adjustment, which is a ministerial project to clean up some of the lots there to get that done. So that'll be going to that will go to the council, hopefully here in the next couple months. They got approved in October, so they still have a couple months to get it done. So working with them on that. The BCRE project, the property owner is working on this project in El Cerrito, which I think is wrapping up here fairly shortly. I know they did some grading on their site over at 2801 Pinole Valley Road, and then he'll be moving his crew down here to start on that project. Of course, Saha, you guys are looking. It's going up. It's going up pretty fast, pretty quick. It's moving pretty well, and so they're on their schedule to meet to get the project completed. Vista Woods has been up and down and all over the place, and they've had some issues. They've been correcting some issues. They've had loss of foremen and getting foremen back on staff. So they've kind of had a little bit rough road. But as you can see, they've got the 4 buildings up. They're almost complete with buildings 1 and 2, which are phases 1 and 2, which is the buildings that front San Pablo, and like their second building, which is kind of like their entry. I mean, there's still some. They still have to do their landscaping. They got to put in their parking lot, but at least the buildings are there. They've gotten all the framing and stuff up for buildings C and D, which are on the back side, which are on the Encina side. So the buildings are all up. So now it's just a matter of finishing them off, and hopefully I think they said by the end of the year, or right around the beginning of next year, that they'll be complete. So we've been getting a lot of people coming in looking for those units. So hopefully they'll fill up fairly quickly. Let's see, that's all 5. That's all 6 right there. With that, I mean, we've been getting a lot more ADUs in. We just reported on our housing element, our APR, which is our annual report that we've got to do to HCD. We got that turned in. We're working on some. We just went to the municipal ordinance subcommittee today with our first little wing of amendments to the zoning code. So that process is now starting, and all of that was based off of some of our housing programs and our housing element. Housing program 10 and 12 are the 2 big programs that we are trying to implement right now. So you'll start seeing some municipal code projects coming through. In terms of the objective development design standards, the subcommittee did an exhaustive work on going through the 3 big documents, which is the zoning code, the 3 corridor specific plan, and the old downtown guidelines. We've gotten through them. Now staff is putting all those changes in a table forms for the commission to look at. So we'll be moving forward with that. We probably won't be meeting for about a month or so I can get all that in. But I'll be working to get each of those documents and their changes in as well. So, and those will be coming to the commission, hopefully sometime in the summer, and then going to the council sometime in the early fall. So that's where we're going with there. The parklet, of course, we're just getting started on the parklet program, design guidelines. So the committee will be taking on that aspect and introducing that that will probably start in the next couple of weeks. And so we'll start working on those guidelines and what we want to see as part of our guidelines. So there's a lot in the works. So hopefully your summer and fall should be very busy, in terms of municipal code updates and in terms of parklet, Pinole Shores too here in a couple months. So hopefully your May through September will be very active, May through October. So and getting projects done. So with that, that's all I have. Unless you have any questions of staff, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have on any of the projects and move forward from there.
So going from the far end towards me, Commissioner Sandoval, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Lamb-Julia, do you have any questions?
Is there an update about Nick the Greek?
Nick the Greek, I did receive the business license application today. So I had some questions for the owner, which she happened to give them to me. So I'll hopefully be processing that this week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Martinez.
Thank you, Chair Menace. Planning Manager Hannum, if memory serves me correct, and this goes to Vista Woods, the question I have for you is regarding the color scheme. If I remember, Chair Menace brought to Planning Commission some time ago questions regarding the color scheme and whether or not those colors would be a little bit more pronounced when driving by. And recently I had the opportunity to drive by, in which I found that the colors are very, very muted and not as pronounced. So is there a possibility that we can double check and make sure those colors actually match what was presented to Planning Commission? Because they seem to be fading away and just becoming one color as I drove by. That's just my perception. Right. So with that said, is that something we can ask the team to take a closer look at and make sure that we are adhering to what we originally agreed on and approved?
Yes, I mean we haven't done any final inspections of the building at this point, so everything is still pretty fluid right now in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it. I will check though. What I can do is I can bring what was approved as part of the color palette to the commission to let you know what it was. I can bring that to you the next meeting as a communications item, and we can with it. But they're not done. We haven't done any final inspections on the building whatsoever, either exterior or interior. So there's still a lot of work to be done there. But yes, I will bring the color codes or the color palette that was approved by the commission.
Thank you. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you. And I'd also like to interject briefly that it's possible that the colors haven't been finalized yet. There may be more stages of painting that just haven't been done yet at this point because it's still very clearly under construction.
Yeah, that could be it too.
So, Commissioner Manzoli,
Nothing for me, thanks.
Commissioner Manuelos.
Yeah, what's going on with the new 7-Eleven?
I knew someone was going to bring that project up. No, the new 7-Eleven. Basically, right now they've got issues with PG&E, and so that's kind of like the final stage of it, from my understanding. They also have to take out one of the poles and underground the utilities, because that was part of the conditions of approval as part of that project. So those final things, I think, is what's been happening right now. So I know they put the conduit in a while ago, but PG&E had to come in and pull all the wires and do all that. So I think they're in that. That's the last phase that they have to do, and then I think they're complete. But I can follow up with that.
I thought I saw lights on there like a month and a half ago or so.
Well, they've got lights to some of the buildings, but they don't have their electrical final yet, because that's part of. They still have to pull power. They still have to take the power underground the poles, or take the poles out and underground the wires. I don't think that affects their building per se, but the buildings, from my understanding, was the lights were on, but they weren't complete with what they were doing. So the electricity has been going off and on to do all the undergrounding and do all that. So that's their I think that's the last thing that has to be completed.
Okay, so it's pretty much still the same as it's been for the last several months.
Yeah, they had a big problem with PG&E. I mean, PG&E basically sat them still for easy about 6 to 8 months. So yeah, so due to backlogs, due to other issues that have come up. So, and I think there were some issues. I think they miscalculated that they had to underground some of those utilities, which they needed to as part of the project. And so we caught that before we found the building. So they're working. PG&E is working on finalizing all that with them.
Yeah, I was talking to Maureen the other day. I forgot to mention to her that there is a liaison to elected officials from PG&E. And I talked, when I was on the city council and mayor, I think it was at least one time I was mayor, I had met them. They say, hey, even if on your own project, if you're having a problem with us, call. And I called them twice, and things happened the next day.
Well, that's what got us started, to be honest. We did contact the liaison about 3 or 4 months ago and got them moving, because there was nothing moving with PG&E. And so we did. I know the building department worked on getting talking to them. So it's in the building department's hands right now at this point. So, and I know they've talked to the liaison a couple of times. So
And they need to talk to them again still.
Yeah.
It's still been a lot of nothing going on over there.
yeah.
My other question is about Pinole Shores. Pinole Shores 1, the sewer line runs kind of behind that building along the back, and they had several years where they were having problems with it, like it wasn't working. And I don't remember if it's a pipe size problem or a slope problem or what, but I remember going to see my dentist there, and she was saying they were having problems where they couldn't even flush the toilets. So has that ever been addressed as part of because it's going to be the same pipe coming out from Pinole Shores 2?
Yeah, I mean, the Pinole Shores 2 will have to, look at the lines and kind of make sure that, because the easements run all along their property. So I know where they'll be improving where they stub in, and but we'll have to check to see. I'll check with Public Works to see if the sewer line will meet. I mean, from everything we've gotten, they've given them a can and will serve on the 2 buildings before. So, and I'm assuming now that's going to have less bathrooms, because it's only going to have one set of, instead of 2 buildings, it's only going to be 1 building. So, but I'll check with PW to make sure that that the sewer line is still working, that it has capacity. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
And I guess to follow up on Commissioner Manuelos's question, Do we have any sort of a timeline for how much longer PG&E is going to be taking with this undergrounding process? Months?
No, I mean PG&E works at PG&E, so I mean, I know they've been working on it, so I know it's been happening. Probably they've had some weather issues like everybody else over the last couple months, so I can follow up with building to see where they're at before I start going to PG&E again. So we'll see where they're at, and I can give an update to the commission of where we're at with that project.
I think that would help, actually, at least having a timeline to go on rather than having to ask the same question and getting roughly the same answer over and over again.
Well, they could give us a timeline, but it's still
Almost as if they didn't say anything to you at all.
because the timeline was about 12 months ago. So that's no.
It's slightly embarrassing to them, at least, if they're failing to meet the timeline.
No, not really. I can give you years and years worth of PG&E stories. I could be here the whole night.
All right, but yeah, I'll try and get a timeline for you guys.
Commissioner Bender?
Nothing from.
All right, and as for me, let's see, questions linked to the various items. So, a reminder, what was the name of the development that was replacing with Doctor's Hospital? That was Pinole?
Appian Village.
Appian Village, okay. So what's the current status of that?
Appian Village. We right now are working on getting the affordable housing agreement to the council next month. They are looking to pull their grading permit, the rough grade. They still have their building permits within in with the city right now. We're reviewing their first 3 buildings, I think. Also, we are working on getting their final map approved. So they're doing all 26 blocks at one time. So we're putting together a subdivision improvement agreement for their improvements, offsite improvements, so that we can file the final map. So that's where that project's at. So they're really itching to go. So you'll see a lot of movement. You should probably start seeing a lot of movement out there in the next probably 3 or 4 months.
That's good to hear, because I was getting a little bit worried after all the old buildings got knocked down, and then it was basically just grass growing there for a few months. So
Yeah.
it's good to hear that, things are definitely moving along there.
Yeah, they just have a lot of permits that they have to get based on the size of the building, based on the structure, based on their maps. So I mean, they still have some DRE requirements that they still have to do as well. So, I mean, but in terms of construction, they're hoping to be under construction by, I think, in the fall. They're trying to start building in the fall. So,
And to clarify, DRE stands for?
Department of Real Estate.
Okay. And do any of the other commissioners have any follow-up questions? All right, then, before I ask the other commissioners for anything to report, I think now would be the appropriate time for former Chair Benzui to make any statements he'd like to make about reflecting on his time as chair over the past year.
Well, I can actually more about the past 4 years, I guess I would probably say. This has actually been a really great experience for me. It's been really good to be a part of all these projects and see all these things change and the city change and all these things we've built or we're trying to build, and how the landscape of Pinole is really going to change. I really definitely absolutely want to thank all the planning commission staff as well as the city attorney's office. You guys have been invaluable support, keeping me on track, keeping me out of trouble. So I really appreciate your support and all the work you guys do. I really had no idea how much work you guys do in the background, but it really becomes evident during these meetings just really how much you put forth in all this stuff. So thank you very much for all the time you do. And just to all the planning commissioners, thank you very much for your support over the past couple of years, and I highly encourage you to keep on with this whole thing, and hopefully one of you two can become next vice chair or chair at some point, because it actually is a good experience to try and lead the whole thing. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Benzui, for your work as chair and for your prior years of service on the commission. You'll be missed when you move on, both your experience and your practical contributions and skill. I guess this is a question more to the city attorney's office. Am I allowed to request discussion from the other commissioners on the report, or would that fall too far into basically just any comments other commissioners might want to make with regards to Commissioner Benzui, since he's going to be leaving, and sort of comments on his report? All right, then I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the rest of the commission to offer such comments to Commissioner Benzui as they see fit, starting this time going the other direction with Commissioner Bender.
Well, on those Monday nights, you can think of us. Enjoy your time.
Commissioner Banuelos.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I thought you did a really good job. Most people that are, I mean, you have a good background and everything, but it's still, running the meeting and kind of being in front in a way and all that kind of stuff. And now you have like a little, like I told you earlier, you have a little idea kind of what it's like to be mayor. It's not that different. So it's just there's more people yelling at you. But I really thought you did an excellent job, and want to say good luck to, you having private time again, and hope you enjoy that, and you'll certainly be missed here. And just want to thank you, personally for your job, and what you did here was very good, and you always could be counted on for being very sensible and can really kind of get to the heart of the matter pretty fast, and always gave good comments and good instruction, and I just want to say thank you.
Vice Chair Martinez.
Thank you, Chair Menace. I guess, Commissioner Benzuli, I'd like to thank you first and foremost for your leadership. During the time that we've served together, I've seen how you're very precise and very organized, and that has really helped us as a group move efficiently across the very many big multi-million-dollar projects. I think over the course of these last 4 years that you've been with us, we've been working in the tens of millions, if not of hundreds of million, over $100 million worth of projects. And I'm not so sure that those would have efficiently gone through without the steadfast effort that you put in to make sure that you prepared for the meetings and helped guide all of us through the different variables that we had to consider. So with that, the other part of it is your guidance. You were always there to help all of us see things from a different angle or a different lens. So it's with that I'd like to say a heartfelt thank you. I really, really am grateful for your time with us. And if ever the opportunity presents itself again and you want to join back in, we would love to have you back. So thank you.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian.
Thank you, Chair Menace. Commissioner Benzuli, I would like to thank you for your kindness and your patience and just leadership while the short time that I had with you, while I got my kind of trying to find my footing here, and kind of nudged me in the right direction and helped me clarify what I was trying to say. And you will be missed, and you can always just come on back. And I just wanted to thank you for your kindness and all your help.
Commissioner Sandoval.
Thank you, Chair Menace. Trying to kind of move over and see you. It's like two people in front of you. Thank you, Chair Benzuli. No, Commissioner Benzuli. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for your service to the city of Pinole. Just wanted to echo some of the things that some of the other commissioners had also said, but also knowing that there's been a lot of changes in Pinole recently in the last couple of years that have come through the Planning Commission, and thank you for being a part of that change. And you will be missed.
Thank you. And as I said earlier, but I guess to sort of reiterate it, Really appreciated the attention to detail that you brought, Commissioner Benzoli, to every project that came before you. Your handling basically being thrown into the fire as chair of the commission, learning how it all worked, making sure that we all went through our things properly, that everybody was able to have their equal time to discuss on things, that the public speakers had their fair amount of time, and so on. And, you know, your dedication and skill to the community. It'll be a loss of this commission to no longer have you on it, but I wish you the best in what you're continuing to do, and thank you for all the work that you've done. So do you have any final comments you'd like to make at this point?
No, I guess I could always come back for public comment, though.
Fair enough. Do we have any other public reports from commissioners' reports from the other commissioners? Vice Chair Martinez?
Okay, I just had an ex parte communication with resident Sandy Glantz, and I was contacted from Sandy recently regarding a number of outstanding permits that she had for some repairs to one of her homes, at which point I shared with her planning manager Hannum's contact information and asked that she reach out directly to planning manager Hannum for guidance on the multiple permits. And I shared with her that we're cutting over to a new electronic system, and that some of those permits may have been on the older system prior to. And hopefully planning manager Hannum could address those concerns with the resident and allow that process to continue for the resident. Thank you.
Do you remember the address?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay.
All right.
I would complete that.
Okay. So in that case, I will close this item. I don't believe I have anything.
Chair Menace, I do see a hand
Oh, I'm
raised
sorry.
online.
We-
If we want
I forgot about public comment. So are there any public comments on these items?
Yes, there is a hand raised from the person with phone number ending in 5748.
Very good. Person with phone number ending in 5748, could you please press *6 to unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me there?
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Anthony. Senior citizen, homeowner, taxpayer, longtime resident of over 40 years in Pinole Valley. I'm commenting on the last subject, or subject before last on the agenda for planning manager Hannum's report. Nobody called for a public comment then, but I almost hung up and went and had my dinner. But patience is a virtue here, especially with the city of Pinole. But can Direct Manager Hannum give us the current update, referring to some of the things that were brought up but not fully addressed or questioned? With that 7-Eleven build out, is 7-Eleven the co-owner or Valero Union 76? Because it gets kind of cloudy now, and different people are asking in the community about it, because they just saw a big new Union 76 sign go up on that old Valero / new 7-Eleven building. And the other question is that did that have any status and on their beer, wine, and/or liquor licensing permitting yet? And that was in place or not? Because we never got a clear-cut answer back from Manager Hannum or anybody from the city staffers or the planning commission when they were discussing in detail the Shell station licensing, so much so that planning commission voted 5-0 or whatever it was, as well as the city council, being that they were the only licensed late-hour operator for beer and wine in that quarter. But that's not true. If the Union 76 / 7-Eleven store is going to be open selling beer and wine that should be known and publicized as such. I think that was the issue with a comment that Mr. Banuelos made, and one or two of the other commissioners that swayed their vote on that. And then also on the Safeway Tower Hills build out, no update or mention was made of that. Do we have any new or good news with the development on that? Case in point, recently the city council put the kibosh on all new gas station remodels and or build outs. And that was one of the key issues with Safeway Albertsons Corporation, saying if they didn't get their gas station there, they were going to have a rough time renewing their permits. And I wonder if that's going to be an issue with Safeway Albertsons moving forward there, and because we have a moratorium for 45 days, and maybe they need to amend the moratorium to consider grandfathering in the Safeway Albertsons if they have serious of coming into the city of Pinole, and put on the addendum to the agreement that they put out EV stations and charger stations out on their pump lot, in addition to to the number of gas pumps on that lot. Also, no mention was made on updating. I don't think the old new Kmart build out there. Recently, someone has told me they drove by, and I confirmed that someone took down, or stole the big, large sign that the city of Pinole put up. It was a 6x6 sign in the parking lot in front of that building, and we haven't seen any activity other than the windows are all boarded up and doors are all boarded up in that building without any signage of what's to come.
You have 30 seconds remaining. I suggest starting
with
to wrap
that
up your
building, as
comments.
well as do we have any news on the Happy Sashimi vacancy, and what burden is all those new build outs and apartments and buildings going to place on our wastewater treatment plant that someone touched on? And the word is that some of it goes to the city of Richmond. So can that be brought up or addressed with all the new apartment buildings up and down San Pablo Avenue, the Kmart, and the one over there at the Appian Village with the issues and cost issues with
Thank you,
regard
Anthony.
to
I think we'll conclude
the
with this sentence.
our wastewater treatment plant that we share with Hercules, not Richmond. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments on this item?
No, there are not.
Very good. Then, Plan Manager Hannum, do you have any responses to the public comments?
Yeah, and if I miss some, so hopefully someone else can. 'Cause I wrote a lot of them down regarding the 7-Eleven and ABC license. We haven't had any movement on that. The Valero did. I think and I'll have to go back and look in the reports. But I think Valero did have a liquor license for beer and wine. Whether or not 7-Eleven is doing that, that's something that we'll have to talk to them about. 76, I think, is the new owner of the facility. The Valero is now, I think, moved out, and so we'll be working with them on that. But that store might already have a liquor license already involved, so it's just could be a change in ownership. So that's something that we'll be monitoring. Regarding the Safeway Terra Hills property, we're working with the property owner. As you can see, we put up a fence to keep out all the trucks and motorhomes and all that. That went up, so they're moving, and they're doing their due diligence on tenants and that as well. In regards to the gas station and that, all the entitlements for Pinole Square lapsed, so all that is gone. Whether or not they're doing additional leases with Safeway, I don't know. That's not in our bailiwick. So that's an effort between Balboa Retail Centers and Safeway. But as of now, Safeway is still operational, and they're still moving forward at this point. Regarding the old Kmart, that's the Pinole Vista site, and I think what Anthony didn't hear was that yes, they are moving forward. They're looking to extend the project for another year. The sign that he's talking about, I don't know when it came down or who took it down, but that was mainly a public notice as part of the review, as part of the original review process, which we required them to do. Once the entitlement is over, they had the ability to take it down at any time. So whoever did that, I don't know who did that, or I know it wasn't the city. So unless it was and I don't know if it was a property owner or it's just someone just took it. So, but the project is still active. It's still 223 units. And then I can answer a little bit about the sewer issue. As the commissioners are aware, the city is broken up into two districts: West County Sewer District and the City of Pinole Hercules. The Fitzgerald project, or the Pinole Vista, that goes to West County. The Saha project and the Pinole Vista project come to the city of Pinole, and all the other projects come to the Apian Village. I think also comes to the city of Pinole as well for sewer. So at least at this point, we haven't heard any issues regarding those projects. When those projects came through the entitlement process, all of them had the ability to get can and will serve letters for sewer, which means that our plant has capacity to accommodate those projects. So that's now regarding the lines. We have to assume that if they're giving them a can and will serve, that the lines are sufficient to be able to hold the project. So that's kind of how that works. I think I got them all. Happy to see me. I'm not quite sure if they have a new tenant or what their status is on that. So.
All right, thank you for following up with answering all those questions. So now I believe we'll move on to the next item, communications. And I guess we'll go ahead and do it in Sarah Commissioner order. So Commissioner Sandoval, do you have any communications?
None at this time.
Commissioner Lamb-Julian, do you have any communications?
I attended several community events, just connecting with community members, and I was at the Pinole Rock Walk and Roll update. That's a mouthful. They're going to be working on getting a cleaner, more magnified schematic of the proposed updates to Tenant, Fitzgerald, San Pablo, and Appian, with wanting feedback from community members of just what their preference is. They're also at the Pinole Earth Day celebration as well, trying to get some feedback on the possibilities of what that would look like before they can go ahead and move forward. I'm complete.
Great. Vice Chair Martinez, any communications?
No communications at this time, Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Benzuli, any communications?
No, none for me, thanks.
Commissioner Banuelos, any communications?
Got my Collins permit, but that was, I felt like I was getting a root canal while I was doing it, but I've had several conversations with the mayor, and she's getting a lot of complaints and just hasn't filtered down to you guys, I guess. But something's got to happen with the process. There's something really wrong with it. And I kind of preface that with waiting to see what happens with the new process, because that's about to kick in if it hasn't already. And so I'm kind of curious to see how that goes, because most cities' process makes things worse when they go online. So hopefully, the one thing I would definitely say to you all is make sure there's some way that you have someone that can answer people's questions. A lot of cities use this as a way of not talking to the public, because the system usually doesn't work, and there's almost nobody to call. So as long as there's someone that'll answer the phone, I have had problems, people answering the phone and calling me back here in Pinole in the last couple of weeks. So I hope people don't get what I've gotten. So it's just kind of a word to the wise.
I guess I'd briefly interject before Plan Manager Hanna makes any responses that he wishes to, but the city did recently create some new job classifications for junior engineers, I think it was, to help deal with the backlog of permits, because part of the problem was that given the classifications that we have, the city wasn't able to hire enough people to deal with permits in a timely fashion. So hopefully that'll help resolve at least some of the issue.
Yeah, that would be good. Right now, an over-the-counter permit takes 3 weeks. And then there's an 8-week backlog on all other permits, which is not unusual as permits go. It's just that the little permits seem to be dragging. And if it's because there's a lack of people, I can understand that. But in general, the public doesn't understand that.
No, and you have to remember we have two building techs. So two building techs are running or processing and all the permits that come in, whether they're over the counter. We had to make some changes and just kind of give you the commission a little bit of an update. I mean, over the course of the last probably 6 months to a year, we were really backlogged. We got, and it really started probably about 2 years ago, actually, when we got hit with about 70 permit applications in about a 2-week period, which is huge for a city with only 2 building permits. We brought in an extra permit tech to help funnel the load, which we were able to get caught up, at least getting permits processed in a reasonable time. We've since lost that permit tech, got one back, lost that one because they were more temporary in terms of getting that. We are in the process of operating the new system in terms of, for the permit processing and our e-track it and those types of things. And we have in some areas, we've improved a great deal in terms of like solar permits. We've been able to get those out. We were taking like 3 to 4 weeks to get those out. We now have special days where they come through and they're knocking them out pretty much in a day. So we are, the permit techs are working. What we're finding is, what we're finding is that as going through this process, and now that we have a chief building official now, and we have a building inspector, is that some of the plans that are coming through just aren't really as clean as they should be, and so they're taking multiple rounds instead of taking an average of 3 rounds of plan checks. They're taking like 7, because either they're not answering questions, the applicants aren't filling out the questions, they're not doing that. We're getting a lot more of that. So I don't know if there's of what's happening out there in that world, but we also have we have third-party plan checkers. We're using multiple third-party plan checkers to get them in, and I can tell you there are some plans that they'll come back 4 or 5 times and they're not the contractors aren't answering they're not answering their comments. They're not changing their comments, and that takes time. It takes time for all of us to review all of those plans, and so they're not as clean as they used to be. I mean, we try to get them as clean as possible. We also, so I mean, there's just been some issues that have come through that have been requiring our building techs to do more with these plans than they have been in the past. And just because, I mean, you'd be surprised at some of the issues that we're having in terms of working with applicants, and their permits have been ready. They're sitting on a shelf for 2 months because no one's come to pick them up. So there's just been a multitude of issues that combine to do this, and I think our building. I mean, I don't know how many permits we processed last year, but with the new ADU permits that are coming in, and we're getting a lot more ADU permits, which are taking some time in terms of that. So it's just been an interesting last couple of years in terms of the building department and what's been happening. So our building techs are we've got some pretty experienced planning techs, so they're able to get through a lot of the issues fairly quickly. But in the meantime, you'll have 3 or 4, 10, 15, 20 permits come in in a day, because now you can apply online. So they come in a lot faster now. They come in, so your backup is now faster, where before, I mean, to think about it, we didn't really have a system up until 2020 in terms of online system. I mean, yeah, you could turn your plans in. Most of the people were still using paper, and now everyone's transmitting. So you can transmit plans like that, but we still have to review them. We still have to put them through the process. We still have to do that. So, yeah, I not to say there can't be any improvement, but just kind of give you an idea of what I even know on some of and I can say that on some of the plans, because planning reviews some of those plans that come through. I've put the same comment on 3 or 4 plans until I pick up a guy and say, hey, either correct it or I'm just going to sit on it, because you're not correcting it. You're not doing what we're asking you to do, so we can't final it. We can't push it through the next process. So there's just been a lot of that lately, and it's just been. And I think everyone's in a hurry, everyone's in a rush. Everyone's trying to get through the next building cycle as fast as they can, so they can get their projects financed. And there's just a lot of push right now. I think, and especially in these last probably 6 to 8 months, it's been relatively tough because people are fighting interest rates, people are fighting all that, and they're just getting plans in, and we're finding that people are getting their plans in on what their deadline is, but they don't necessarily look at the quality of the plans. I think that's been a really big issue. They're hitting their dates, from where the contractors, they got to have their plans into the city by October 1st. So they're here October 1st, but they might require 4 or 5 pages of corrections, within the first plan check. So sometimes it can get, and then the next day we've got another 10, 20 applications coming in the door. So not to make excuses, but it's just kind of the cycle right now. And so we're working on getting those cleaned up and getting that. And then we're hopefully that with our new, we have one more part to roll out to the public, which is to be able to monitor their permits. That's the last segment. We've been working on getting like our e-track it, and that's our last segment that we have up. I don't know, Justin, when that's due out. But that's the last component that we'll have where people will be able to look where their permits are. So we're working on that as well. And we did have to go through, from our last system to this system was a major overhaul in terms of because the old system really wasn't set up properly when it came in back in 2008, 2009. It didn't really get, and of course, Tim, we lost like a bunch of staff during that time. And at the same time, they were going through an update on the building program. So not all of it got set up properly. So there was just, when we started this, it just started, it was just, I think Lily's done a great job of getting she hired a consultant to come in to help us work with Central Square, that's the new Track It. And they're not the easiest to work with, but we've been working with them and getting all our problems solved, but it's just been taking a while. So, and we just have that one last component to push out. And I think people, once they're able to find out where their permits are and that, I think that will be because right now they're right. Sometimes it goes in an abyss. They don't know where it's at, and they're worried that it's not getting processed and all that. All our projects are getting processed. It's just taking some time to get them through getting it through that process.
Yeah, well, I've been on the other side of that, and I would say watch your outside plan checkers.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of justifying their own existence by putting in miscellaneous comments. So say, like you're talking about, this 5 pages of comments, probably 2 of those are real comments. The rest are just crap.
It's just something what we've been noticing. Just more plan check stuff is coming back, and the laws are changing up pretty quickly. So it's just, but yeah, it's been one of those perfect storms over the last few years, and so I think we're building out. I think we're coming out of it, and at one time we were, believe it or not, we were 20 weeks out from the time you submitted your application to your time. So we're just because we were down to like one plan check, and like I said, we had 50 permit applications come in one day. And then we had we had like 3 or 4 days, and this was during 2020 and 2021. So this was during COVID, where we thought no one was building. Well, guess what? They were planning, and they were submitting plans to be ready to go. And so they were and then that just blows your whole system when you get that type of amount come in. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to get more of that happy medium instead of these peaks and valleys. So that's what we have right now. We're getting a lot of peaks where we get hit a lot, and then a lot of it where it's kind of slow, but we've got all these permits that we're still processing, getting them out. So we're working on it.
Well, a lot of cities use the e-track it, and
that's what we're doing. That's what we're converting to. Good. Yeah, that's what we're converting to. So, and we just have that one last part to implement, and getting used to getting out of the old system and into the new system. That's the other transition that we're making. There's been big what we call data dumps from the old system into the new system, and things don't always fall where they're supposed to fall. So it's just been a lot of cleanup and stuff. So it's. I just would ask the public to be patient with us, and hopefully we can and we'll get it back going. There's always some delay time. But we need to get it to where people can get their permits. So
sure.
Yeah.
And I guess before I continue on, I guess I should briefly check in with the city attorney's office. That was still below the lot. That's the sort of discussion we can have, right? Or does that start to rise to the level of discussion where there might be an issue?
Well, it does teeter into a full discussion on an item in the comment section, not to be concerned of, but if a member of the public wishes to comment on that discussion.
Okay. Commissioner Bender, any communications?
None.
All right, and then I've got a couple communications, just the standard ones. The senior center is going to be having the senior food distribution for low-income seniors in Pinole tomorrow from 10 to 11 a.m. Need to fill out an application either online or in person and bring proof of age and residence. And then there's going to be a Community Service Commission meeting on Wednesday at 5, I think, in City Hall. And that's all my communications. Are there any public comments on this item?
No, there's no one online right now.
Chairman, as if I could just to clarify, make sure that point was clear, because the discussion involved points of clarification, I think that that's where we say within from this discussion. So where it's a clarification from the planning manager.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
Is that, there we go.
There we go.
Just to further clarify the statement I made to provide clarity, so long as the discussion was more about clarification points from the from the planning manager, that's where it does not enter into the full discussion realm. But when there becomes a back and forth discussion between the commissioners and the members of this commission, that's when you may want to open it up to public comment.
All right, just wanted to check and make sure, so it seemed like the back and forth there was getting a bit lengthy. Thank you for clarifying. And with that, we move on to next meetings.
Well, Chair, before we get into that, I just want to say, because I didn't get a chance to thank Adam from a staff
right, yes,
perspective. I just want to say, Adam, it was great working with you over the 4 years, having you on when we were, we had 6, 7 major projects come through, and with your background and your ability to cut through all the red tape that we have, or the jargonese that we use sometimes, and your ability to get that was awesome. It was refreshing, and I know as staff we really appreciate you and your work on the commission. So thank you very much. Yeah, you're welcome back anytime. So anytime you want to if you feel like you're ready to go back again, give it a shot. Give me a call. So thanks, Adam. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, so then moving on to next meeting. Our next meeting will be our regular meeting of May 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. And so I will now adjourn this Planning Commission meeting. Thank you.